Hello, my beloved friends. Welcome once again to the Joshua Jordan Experience. I'm so glad you're here. And if you are here, it is meant for you to listen to this message. Today, I want to talk about the subject of meaning or purpose, finding our reason to be here. And before I get into that, I'd like to ask you to please hit that thumbs up button. It really does help with the YouTube algorithm and pushes our video out to more people. Other things you can do to help our channel grow would be please consider subscribing if you're not subscribed. You could forward this video to someone you think might benefit from watching it. And also, if you let it play to the very end, it will also help us grow the channel. Now, what I want to talk about is purpose and meaning and how that changes our lives. Many years ago, in my youth, I founded a nonprofit organization called the Eternal Light Society. And that group met once a month to listen to Joshua, to hear Joshua's teachings, and also to study the seventh major understanding. And during that series of meetings, when our group had kind of dwindled down to a very small core, we started to get more interactive and to work on projects. And one of the projects we were working on was about how can I change the world? How do I change the world? Well, we all know if I change in here, what's out there changes. So I have given examples of this before, so I won't go over it again. But we had done a group exercise where everyone was going to come back to the next meeting and share what they had found internally that they believed they could fix. Well, now, you see, all of our group meetings were open to the public. And for this particular meeting, a gentleman and a friend of his showed up who I had invited in the past, but he'd never been to any of our meetings before. He just happened to show up at this particular time. And as he listened to us talking about the conditions in the world that we would like to see changed, such as war or crime or starvation or, whatever was going on when we looked out there and found problems, how could we find what's going on in here that would help resolve it? So this was very disturbing to this gentleman because obviously he was well trained as a Buddhist and he kept saying, no, 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 you're getting it all wrong. You don't understand. What is, is. What is. And you have no reason to try to fix or change any of it. It's not your problem, pretty much, he was saying. If what is, it's like, so what? He was very, in my opinion, apathetic, not taking any ownership of the conditions of the world. Like he was somehow separate from everything and everyone, and he had no responsibility for what was going on in society. So that was awkward. And at the same time, it was a good challenge to our group to realize there are many people who practice something in Buddhist faith. I hate to call it a faith, Buddhist philosophy that is called detachment. And the reason I don't call Buddhism a religion or a faith is it has no deity. Buddha is not a deity. Anyway, um, in their philosophy, the Buddha taught detachment. Now, you see, Buddha was very invested in human suffering, very fascinated by the suffering. And he looked into what was causing human suffering. He looked deeply into that, meditated on it frequently, and found that there were some things we could do to sidestep, avoid some of our suffering. Now, detachment was about releasing our attachment to outcomes and expectations about how it should be, how the world should be. And that is not what we were discussing in the ELS either, not how the world should be. We were talking about, though, how it could be. And so this guy was so in, engrossed in his detachment that suddenly he seemed apathetic to me, like what's going on in the world just is. It's not my responsibility to pay attention to it. I don't need to know if there's a war out there or any of that. And it's true, you really don't. But the idea that Buddha was teaching people to become apathetic is grossly misunderstood. What Buddha was trying to teach us was not to detach from community or society or responsibility. What he was teaching us to release, detach from expectations, the shoulds, you see, because when we get into, well, I expected that you should know better, or if you understand me, you should know what I need. It's like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. So whenever we start shooting on ourselves or others, I should do this and I should do that, we're actually creating a system of stress. And we're not looking at what could be, we're judging what should be. And I just wanted to share with you that my understanding of Buddhism has not come so much from the study of this lifetime. I want to tell you this, just between us. Joshua let me know that the soul that is the source of my Jordan personality incarnated 3 times to be a scribe of what Buddha said, to scribe, to write every word the Buddha said. 3 lifetimes as a scribe. Now, how can you do that? Parallel universes. Exactly. So here I go, wandering off into other subjects. The point is that the quest for meaning in life, the search for purpose, has been with us as long as humans have achieved their stability. So, what I'm saying is that once you have achieved your, all of your survival needs and everything is well in place to maintain your survival, then people start to grow beyond that and look for meaning in life, purpose. Martin Seligman is known as the father of positive psychology. And in teaching positive psychology to others, he came up with this acronym called PERMA. And I won't go into great detail about that today, but what I will share with you is that the M in PERMA is meaning, purpose. To live a life of in positive psychology, your life is much more fulfilling when you have purpose, when there's meaning in what you're doing. Now, not too long ago, a friend of mine posted about purposelessness. It's not a word, purposelessness. There we go. And purposelessness is basically was around, it sounded to me like it was all around this Buddhist belief in detachment. Um, so he said that he thought it was an Eastern goal, perhaps even a Buddhist teaching, that the aim for humankind is to achieve purposelessness. It's like, no. Joshua disagrees, and I'll tell you why. Now, my friend gave me these examples of look at the trees, look at the rivers. They don't strive, they don't have to do anything, they just exist. And that somehow he was equating that to an aim for humans. to just be, to just be right. And that's what that guy in the ELS meeting was saying. Just be. You don't have to get invested in helping or serving or changing or fixing or curing or healing. Just be. Now, as my friend used trees and a river as examples of things that just exist without purpose, I was shocked, actually. Obviously, he hadn't really looked at the ecosystem. The trees have purpose, the rivers have purpose. Both are life supporting. Just one tree is a home for birds, squirrels, bugs. It is an ecosystem unto itself. One tree. One tree removes carbon dioxide from the environment and puts out oxygen. One tree. Now, that alone is a purpose that helps all living creatures on the planet. Also, the trees exist in an ecosystem that is so deeply connected. For a minute, I want to talk about giant sequoia. The giant sequoia can grow as much as 300 feet tall, and yet its roots go down into the earth 12 to 15 feet. Now, from an engineering structural view, that just doesn't make sense. How can something 300 feet tall be supported by roots that are only 12 to 15 feet in depth? Well, the secret is this. Even though their roots do not go greatly deep into the earth, they spread. They spread out and get intertwined and entangled in the roots of other giant sequoia. And this becomes a community. In a great windstorm, for example, this root system of connection, the trees are there for each other. They are helping hold up one another. So don't tell me trees don't have purpose. Trees actually have community and they communicate with one another. Now, so see, I can get really wound up about this. There is purpose in life. All things have purpose. It is intrinsic in your being. Everything has meaning in it. Joshua and I wrote a book together called Graceful Intentions for Powerful Change. Now, having an intention is very much like having an aim or a goal. Setting an intention gives us some purpose for the day or the hour or perhaps even the next month or a year. You can have an intention to accomplish certain things. Now, these intentions, the way we wrote about them in the book, was designed in a way to help us sidestep expectations and unrealistic attachments to outcomes. What we were trying to do was to set forth intentions that you would find inspiring, fulfilling, meaningful, and worthy of your time and effort. So let's just examine for a moment one intention. I intend to be loving. Now, that's simple. I don't need to get attached to anything in regard to how I go about my life in a loving way. I can just intend to be loving. What? What if I'm an ambitious person and I want to measure my progress? So I establish goals. Now, I think goals are good. I think having goals are good, and I think measuring results is important. So please don't misunderstand me when I say that goals, though, can also lead to expectations. So be generous with yourself as you're setting your goals. So let's say I have this goal to be loving, and I decide to measure that by setting up metrics. My metrics are okay, first of all, I give 10 hours of service to volunteering in the community every week. I can measure that. Did I do my 10 hours this week? Am I success or am I failure? Right? What if one of my goals is, oh, I donate items. Every month I donate to charities that support people in need. Did I donate this month or not? Am I a success or a failure? Now I'm putting measures around, am I loving? Am I being loving? Do I say yes to every request that's for help? If someone comes to me needing help, do I always say yes? Is that a metric I can say? Did I do it? Did I not? So when I start attaching goals with expectations on my behavior, then I start to measure my performance. Am I measuring up or not? Perhaps I'm exceeding my goals and I can then increase them. I could do more. What can I do? Am I giving enough money to the local charities, the churches? You see, so you can design goals around your intention or around your purpose. What if my purpose is to be helpful and loving? And I measure whether or not I am doing my best just by asking myself, how am I doing with that? Could I do better? Rather than setting up matrix around how can I be helpful and how can I show I'm loving. And you see, so when we start to set up goals, we also have a measuring stick with which we can use to pat ourselves on the back and or beat ourselves up with. So purpose does not lead to expectations that you measure certain goals towards your progress. So one of my intentions in this lifetime is to be a channel for Joshua and to spread his message. How I do that is up to me. Joshua doesn't force me to do anything. Joshua doesn't give me instructions on what I must do. That's very, very rare that he would give me an expectation to live up to. So I have an intention to be a channel for Joshua and to spread his teachings. Now, how do I measure my progress? Well, I have set goals. And some of the goals I set, I didn't reach. I haven't reached yet. It may never reach. And at the same time, Joshua tells me to be gentle, be loving, let yourself be, do what feels right for you. Do what feels right for you. So Joshua hasn't hung a bunch of expectations on me. However, I was born with certain gifts that would allow me to fulfill this purpose. So I think perhaps I have said enough about purpose. I know that I get very concerned when members of society think they have no responsibility for the world as a whole. And that is the vast majority of people. They forget their oneness with all that is. And if they're not one with everything, then apparently they don't have any responsibility for anything other than maybe my kids or, my job. I have responsibility. But what about our community, our state, our region, our nation? What about global relationships? Joshua tells me each of us play a role in that. Believe it or not, you are playing an important role in the conditions of the world. So detaching from that can be a stress reliever. You can use detachment to let off stress, and I do encourage that. I also encourage simplify. Simplify life. Don't complicate it too much with too many goals and too many measurements and too many responsibilities and too many expectations. You know what I'm saying? I do advocate for simplification. However, we rather do not like apathy. You see, because you are a part of all that is. We are one with all of it. And so having goals, having intentions is our way of making progress. Of course, we all have personal goals too. And when our expectations get too heavy and our life starts to feel overwhelming, it is time to step back. What really is your purpose? If your purpose is to be helpful and loving, what kind of goals have you set up to measure that? And Joshua has taught me that purpose and meaning are fulfilling for humankind. It's a fulfillment of our experience, a fulfillment of our existence is found in purpose. And that is why the quest for meaning, the quest for purpose has been a part of humankind since humankind walked here. Let me step aside now and let Joshua speak to you. Hello, beloved one. It is my honor and my joy to be speaking to you once again here in this place. You see, we are all here now. Jordan was speaking to you about a subject that we do hold dear, in that detachment is grossly misunderstood. The Buddha never intended to teach apathy. That was not the goal. What he was intending to do was to help humankind understand why they suffer and to allow them methods or avenues that might lead them away from suffering and attachment to outcomes, attachment to behaviors, attachment to expectations is a great source of human suffering. And this is why the Buddha taught detachment. He did not intend detachment in a way of not caring or not worrying or not being involved. He was not asking people to remove themselves from improving themselves or their society. So, in Buddhism, it is grossly misunderstood what the Buddha meant by detachment. It is my belief that each of you came here on purpose. You incarnated on purpose. You chose to be here. You wanted to be here. And prior to coming into the lifetime, most of you, the vast majority of you, chose a purpose for this lifetime. Now, that purpose does not need to be grandiose. It doesn't need to be change the world type of purpose. Some came here with the purpose of learning to be a good parent or learning to be a good friend or intending to help people. Or I came here with the intention to learn everything I possibly need to know to evolve or move forward in my development. You came here with a purpose. I believe if you are following the Joshua Jordan show, you have purpose for being here. And I am your teacher. I am reaching out to you. Now, I accept that you are my teacher, and I still have much to learn from you. This is the open exchange that I encourage in my communication with humans on the planet. I am a student of human nature, and I have studied human nature for eons, we'll say. Since human nature began, I have watched you. I have learned what it means to be human and to live a lifetime upon the planet. So, yes, I still have much to learn from you about your experience of being human. And I am here to teach you ways, methods, avenues, just like the Buddha did, to help you live your lifetime with less suffering, less stress, and yet keep you fully connected to all that is, and to know that you, I do mean you, have the power to change the world. Yes, you do. You see, the world that exists out there comes from in here. It is all generated from within you. Everything you see and allow on your global stage comes from within. However, you can change your part in the pool of mass consciousness, and in doing so, influence all that are in the pool. And the pool is all that is. So, yes, that means you have the power to change the world. The world changes as you change. Watch, learn, look. What are you looking for when you look out there? Because you will always find what you seek. Always. There is no exception to that. You will always find what you seek. Now, Jordan wants to find peace out there. I want to find peace out there when I look out there. And yet I look out there and I do see places that live in peace, but I see places that do not. And he cares and he wants to change it. So I have instructed him, learn to make peace within self always. When a conflict internally arises, learn to solve it, resolve it, settle it through cooperation and a commitment to the good of the whole, rather than forcing some part of self into surrender, coercing or using power over, you see. So, if Jordan wants to make peace in the world, he knows he has to make peace here. And he has made great progress. I will tell you, there are still conflicts within. That is human. But how you solve those problems, how you resolve those problems within, makes all the difference out there. We have talked about that in other videos. I just want to remind you, you came here on purpose and with purpose. And we love you and I want you to call upon me at any time, and I will answer you always. So ask away. I am here, and I do this with joy and because I love you. And with this, I will bid you good day. Thank you for listening. We hope you heard something to ponder and gained inspiration for your journey. Please join us again next time. Joshua says, let the light grow, let love show, and let your life be fun.